over the past 50, 60 years, we shy away from discussions of hell. And I think that's been a huge mistake. And in my book, The Old Evangelization, I have a whole chapter on that where I talk about we have to bring up hell. And so if somebody's afraid of death, the worst thing you can do is basically say, well, when you die, you're going to go to heaven and things will be fine. That's the worst thing you can say. Right. What you say is, if you are prepared for death properly, then you will spend eternity in heaven, and all this will seem like nothing to you. And you'll kind of laugh at yourself for even being scared of death.
Right.
But that also assumes, and you might need to say it explicitly, if you're not prepared for death, what you're going through now will also be a laugh to you, but in the other way, because you'll realize how much worse your reality is, because you'll be in hell for all eternity. Yeah. And so I think we do these things, we make it very clear that death, if we're prepared for death, it's not something to be afraid of. But if we're not prepared for death, we should be terrified of it. Mm-hmm. And so we help those around us who are now thinking about death to think of those things.
You know, this kind of goes back to the Old Testament, is when there's plague and famine and invasions, memento mori, remember that you will die, remember death. And so what can we do to prepare for death, ourselves and for other people? We need to teach this, because they used to call it the art of dying. The art of dying has been lost. So here's what you need to do. You need to encourage people who are not baptized to be baptized. You need to hound them. I know a lady.
Urge them, not just encourage them, urge them to be baptized.
I know a lady whose father was not baptized. He was old. I can't remember the age. We'll just say 70s, 80s. And she would bring him to mass with him. And she would say, you need to get baptized, Dad. You got to get baptized. One day, he said, I want to be baptized. She went to the priest. I think it was a fraternity priest. I can't remember. And he said, well, this guy's old and he's confessing the faith. I've seen him coming to mass. I'm going to baptize him right now. Went and got the font ready. After mass, randomly baptized this old man. He died that night, people. He died that night. Probably went straight to heaven or checked in for 2 seconds in purgatory. He died that night. Now, what if that woman didn't urge her father, you got to get baptized, Dad? What if she was just sort of like a happy, clappy modernist? Oh, we all love the transcendent. Everyone's going to make it. Or just kind of the Bishop Barron, I'm an optimist on all these things. No, you got to urge people. So if you know people who aren't baptized, hey, you need to be baptized. Secondly, make act of contritions, teach people act of contritions, teach people how to baptize. Also, there's sacramentals, the brown scapular, the miraculous medal. These things are powerful. They're not sacraments, they're sacramentals. So it depends on our faith, what we bring to these things. But wearing the brown scapular, wearing the miraculous medal, having crucifixes, setting up your home, holy water, all these things. Now is a great time to get serious about that. You might think, I haven't worn a brown scapular in a couple of years. Go on Amazon.com and order yourself one. It'll show up at your house in 2 to 5 days. And the great thing about the brown scapular is once you're enrolled, you don't have to get a new one blessed. You're blessed. You just wear the brown scapular. So anything else we should add on that, Eric?
I think those are the most important things. Live out your faith, help those in need, but also urge people to return to God if they've fallen away from Him. Mm-hmm. If they were a baptized Catholic and they're fallen away, urge them to make acts of contrition. If confession is still available in your area, urge them to go to confession. I'm willing to bet, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything like that, but I'm willing to bet even in areas where confession is not available, if you contact certain priests and tell them a situation in which confession is needed, I'm willing to bet they will find a way to make it happen.
Absolutely. And if you can't, be not afraid. It's a bad situation for you, but Christ wants you to get to heaven. He desires all men to be saved. If you literally cannot get to confession, He is going to give you extra graces to make that perfect act of contrition. You have to believe that, and you have to try and make the effort. Do not despair. Definitely do not despair. Christ desires all men to be saved. That includes you. If you're alive, you're in the game. Spiro, Sparrow, right? I breathe, I hope. As long as you're breathing, you have hope.